ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातदेशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, so now we'll start with 9.4, but we'll take a quick recap of what we did in the last session. So first, this chapter is known as the most confidential knowledge. Okay, one time Srila Prabhupada, he was giving a lecture, and after the lecture, I mean during his lecture also, many times he would always recommend that you please read Bhagavad Gita. So after his lecture was over, there was one businessman. So he said, Srila Prabhupada, I'm very busy. That time they used to call him Swamiji. So I'm very busy, and such a fat book. Imagine, and those who don't even know who Krishna is, for them it becomes very heavy, right? Even for us, when we first see the book, you open the book and try to read it, you don't understand anything. So he said, it's not possible for me to read the entire book. So just can you tell me which chapter should I read? So that time Srila Prabhupada said, you read only this chapter 9th. So it's the most confidential knowledge. So this is really, we have to, last class, Mataji took only 3 verses, and in detail she explained why this is Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram, Susukham. So all these words, they're very important. And once you understand the meaning of these words, it becomes very easy for us, to actually, whatever is written in Bhagavad Gita, we actually experience. But now, having said that, it is Susukham, and, you can very joyfully, you can do the devotional service. But still there is a if. So who are disqualified, or who cannot perform the devotional service is mentioned in 9.3. So those who are not faithful, so they can never attain Krishna. So this is one thing. And in the first verse itself, it has been said that those who are non-envious, those who are envious cannot reach me. So these are the 2 disqualification. One is envy, and the other is if one is not faithful, one does not have faith in Krishna. So now Krishna will go forward and tell us something about his Aishwarya Jnana. So that is Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. It is for our level, it is very difficult to understand, but I'll try my best. Firstly, I just want to say sorry, I was 5 minutes late today because I just came from Delhi. You know, I was thinking whether I'll reach in time or no, but the flight got delayed. But anyway, Krishna takes care. This is what I always feel. Okay, so now we will see a 9.4. Anyone wants to chant 9.4 shloka? Or should I chant? Because 9.4, I think it is there in our recitation exam. Okay, so I will chant. Someone read the translation.
Can I?
Anyone wants to chant the shloka?
Yeah, can I, Mataji?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha.
Thank you, Mataji. Anyone wants to read the translation? Ambika Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this is not a very easy subject to understand. So first, any one of you just tell me what do you mean by the word inconceivable? Tell me the dictionary meaning. What do you all realize or what comes to your mind when you hear the word inconceivable?
That we can't understand, Mataji. It's not.
Yes, we can't understand. It's beyond our capacity. So now we all know that in the second chapter you have read that we have 4 defects. So can anyone tell me which are those 4 defects? Madan Mohan Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Which are the 4 defects?
Sorry Mataji.
Which are the 4 defects we are having? You don't,
Mataji,
at least one you can say.
in incomplete sense.
Imperfect senses.
Imperfect.
Okay. And you remember any other?
Cheating Mataji.
You remember anything else?
Mataji, I remember only imperfect sense only.
Okay, doesn't matter. So there are 4 defects. One is the imperfect senses. Second is we are always in illusion. Third is we make mistakes and we have a tendency to cheat. Now, because of these 4 defects, especially the imperfect senses, and we are always in illusion. Because of this imperfect senses, we can never conceive, which is outside our limited range. Okay, so this is what Krishna is saying here, that there is another nature of mind which you cannot conceive. And that other nature here, he has called it as avyakta murtina. So avyakta murtina means which is not visible to our material senses, which is an unmanifested form. Okay, see, our senses are always an illusion, imperfect. They're so imperfect that supposing if you eat something sweet and then you drink tea, then the tea will not taste sweet. You will ask that have you put sugar in the tea? So like this, you know, our senses are imperfect. We are in illusion. So because of this, we cannot see Krishna. So the only way to understand Krishna is that you have to do devotional service. You have to be his pure devotee. The only way is chanting the holy names. There is no other way we can perceive the Lord. So Krishna is invisible and I am trying to conceive him. We are in this state. Okay, each one of us wants to understand him. Each one of us wants to see Krishna, but Krishna is invisible. So what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's Guruji, what did he say? That don't try to see Krishna, but serve him in such a way that he wants to see you. So this is very important, that whatever inconceivable energy of Krishna is there, we must try to understand it from the acharyas. Okay, we should read Bhagavad Gita with full faith. We should serve Krishna, and slowly the unmanifested is going to manifest. Okay, now the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not perceivable through the gross material senses. And here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has quoted from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grayam indriyahi. Sevon mukhehi jivhadau swayameva spurat yada. Means Lord Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, all this cannot be understood by the gross material senses. It is revealed only to one who is engaged in pure devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So then, who can see the Lord is someone who has Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochena Santa. So the Santa, they have the Premanjan in their eyes. So their eyes, they have the love of Godhead. They love Krishna so much that they have said that Sadaiva Rudayeshu Vilokayanti. So one who has Premanjan, in his heart, Krishna is always manifest. So you all may be knowing the story of Bhakta Prahlad. I'm assuming. So Bhakta Prahlad, when he was Prahlad Maharaj, when he was chanting the names of Vishnu, and Hiranyakashipu was dead against all this, and in spite of repeatedly telling Prahlad Maharaj to stop chanting, stop worshipping Narayana, Prahlad continued. So Hiranyakashipu told his soldiers, that you throw him, go on a cliff and just throw him off the cliff. And while you throw him, you tie a heavy stone to him, so that we'll make sure that he really falls down, and dies. So the soldiers did that. They tied a heavy stone and they threw him off the cliff. And when they threw him off the cliff, what Prahlad was thinking is, doesn't matter. Whatever happens to me, it doesn't matter. But he knew that Paramatma dwells in the heart. So with both his hands, he tightly, embraced, like both his hands, he put his arms around his chest so that nothing should happen to Paramatma. If something happens to me, it's still okay. So this is, this is the love. We are not at that level. So we cannot understand this inconceivable energy of Krishna. We only have to be faithful. We have to be patient, and we have to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So once in Gaudiya Math, when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was there, one very influential man came, and this man, after you come to any mutt, you always will take the darshan of the deity. So he was taking the darshan, and he was standing in front of the deity for a long time. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was sitting and watching him, so much long time. This man is not moving. He's just standing in front of the deity. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, imagine, what he asked this man. How was your eye massage? So this man was very surprised. So he said, what do you mean by eye massage? So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati said, you are standing in front of the deity for a long time, watching, and that is why your eyes must have got a good massage, because you're using your eyes to stare at one place. So I'm asking you, how was your eye massage? So this man was bewildered. He could not answer. So that time Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati explained, if you try to see Krishna, what can you see? Can you actually see Krishna? No, you cannot see Krishna on the external level. Yes, you can see there's a deity that's carved out of marble or stone or wood or some other material, and that this external level you can see Krishna, but on an internal level you cannot see him, because our heart is not in a state that we can understand and conceive the Lord. So externally we are seeing, but in reality we are not seeing Krishna. So that time Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati said that you try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. So one thing is very clear, if we want to see Krishna, it is not possible. But if Krishna wants to see us, it is very much possible. Therefore, service to Krishna is very important. I'm sure all of you may be doing some volunteering or some service at the temple. If you are not doing, please take it up, because it's very important. At least try to do a service once a week, once in 15 days, whatever time is available to you. So now how to conceive and how to understand this statement which Krishna is saying, that I have pervaded the entire universe, all the beings are in me, but I am not in them. So these are the contradictory statements. It is very difficult for us to understand. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a king. So now we can say our country is ruled by the prime minister. So how does he work? He works through his ministers. He does not do everything. Okay, so his cabinet of ministers, each department, finance, defense, education, each department is different, and he is governing all the ministers. So we can say the post of a prime minister is something like a Vyaktamurti, because he rules through his ministers, or he rules through his energies. Okay, so similarly, Krishna also has said that I am unmanifested. So unmanifested again does not mean that Krishna is not personal. He is personal. Okay, so the prime minister works through his ministers, but does not lose his personal existence. So let's go to the next shloka. There's a lot to understand now. 9.5. Okay. Anyone wants to read the shloka? No one? Okay, I'll read. Na cha matsthani bhutani pashya me yogamayshwaram bhuta vrunna cha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. Anyone wants to read the translation? Manjula
I'll do
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mataji.
Okay, Manjula Mataji, read.
The one which is displayed, no, Mataji, and yet it starts from there,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Because
yes.
okay. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence, although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, still myself is the very source of creation. As the mighty wind blowing everywhere always rests in ethereal space, know that in the same manner, all beings rest in me.
Okay, so see here again, Krishna is using contradiction. See what he's saying. I am the maintainer of all living entities. I am everywhere. But still he's saying, the other part of the shloka is saying, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. So though he is the creator, he is not a part of this cosmic manifestation. So how will you understand this? See, I will give you a very gross example, so just to drive home the point, that Krishna, though he's a source of creation, he's not a part of this cosmic manifestation. So this example I gave in my Marathi class, that when we from milk we make curds. Okay, from curds we make butter. From butter we make ghee. Okay, now what is the origin of ghee? It's milk. Okay, in one sense, you can say that milk is present in ghee. But if you see externally, you'll see that they're totally opposites. Milk is white in color and the ghee is maybe light yellow in color. If you see the consistency, milk is very thin. Ghee is a thick liquid. If you see the shelf life of milk, it's hardly maybe for a day. Whereas ghee will last for months. So such a vast difference. But the origin of ghee is milk, because without milk, ghee will not exist. So like that, this creation, the origin is Krishna. Without Krishna, Krishna maintains it. And without Krishna, this will not exist. This material world will not exist. Okay, so the origin is Krishna. He is in a way present in everything, and yet he is not present. So I hope you understood this. So now see, Krishna is so kind, he is explaining Arjun the small details using an example. So here he has said that just like the mighty wind is blowing everywhere, it rests in the sky, all created beings rest in me. Okay, so this he has given the example of the wind and the sky. So supposing if you see the sky like an inverted bowl, okay, an inverted bowl, and in that bowl you see the largest manifestation we can see in this material world is the wind. So wind is what? Sarvavyapi. It's existing everywhere, but still there's a limitation. The boundaries of the sky will limit the movement of the wind. Wind can't go beyond the sky. Okay, so similarly, Krishna has said that just like the mighty wind is blowing everywhere, it rests always within the sky. Just like that, the created beings or the living entities in this material world, our activities will be limited only to this material world. We cannot go beyond. Okay, so this is what Krishna has said. This is his yogam aishwaryam, inconceivable potency of the Lord. So we must never try to see Krishna. We must always remember we should serve Krishna. We must follow all the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. And when Krishna wishes, he will manifest in front of us. Now, once I'll tell you one more story. Once Srila Prabhupada had gone to a temple in ISKCON. So there he was also standing in front of the deities for a long time. And after standing there, he called the temple president. So in this particular temple, there was one devotee who was giving service. He was washing the plates, okay, of the deities, and he was doing it very grudgingly. He was saying, oh, I've been given such a seva, I was better off at home. And he didn't like the seva. that he was doing. He was doing it very angrily, grudgingly, and in that process, he was not cleaning the plates very well. Always there was some thing, some rice or some vegetable attached to the plate. And he was doing that. And he said, I think now I must leave this place and go. He didn't like the service. Then after a few days, many months passed, he was doing it, and now he decided to leave. Now Prabhupada came, he stood there in front of the deity, and he didn't tell this to anyone, his own thoughts. And after a while, he called the temple president and he said, who is washing the deity plates? Just bring that person to me. So this person, the temple president, told that this is Prabhuji, he is doing the service. So they called, he summoned the Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, when he came, so Prabhupada asked him that, why are you not washing the plates properly? Why are you angry? Why do you want to leave the service? And he said, for us it is inconceivable, but once you have the love of Godhead, Krishna speaks to you. So the deities, they spoke to Prabhupada and they told him that we are not being served properly, and the deities also look thin. They were not having the food properly. So when Srila Prabhupada told this particular person what all was going in his mind, he just fell down like a rod. Dandavat pranam to Prabhupada. And he said, yes, what you are saying, each and every word is true. And from today, I have surrendered to you. I will now do my service properly. Then Prabhupada said, okay, but this is the way. We have to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. We have to do our service with lots of love. And no service is menial service. We may think that service is better because always in the material we are in the dvandva, duality. This is good, this is bad. So that continues in our spiritual life also. We get those some material conceptions in spiritual life. But remember, no service to Krishna is menial service. Any service, you know the story now of Prabhu Ramachandra when they were building the Setu, there was a squirrel. So she was taking some sand grains in her mouth and throwing them in between the two rocks, so that the rocks were getting cemented, and the monkeys, they were carrying huge boulders and throwing it in the sea. They saw the squirrel, scampering about, and they told the squirrel that if you don't go out of the way, maybe either one boulder will fall down or we may stamp you and you may die. So don't do this service. And after all, what service you're doing? No, this service is not important. You are not serving like what we are carrying huge boulders. So, but the squirrels still continued to serve. And then the one of the monkey, they took the squirrel and just threw her across, and she landed in the hands of Prabhu Ramachandra. And then Prabhu Ramachandra said, I see the attitude with the attitude by which you are serving me. It doesn't matter. Your capacity may be very tiny. So this is what we have to do. Tiny service the squirrel gave, but she landed in the hands of Prabhu Ramachandra. So we also have to remember this, that when we serve, Lord will manifest in front of us. Now everything looks inconceivable for us. Everything is inconceivable. So I think now I'll end because Nikhil Prabhuji has to take the next verses 7 to 10. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the wonderful class and all the lessons and the examples. I was listening with all super interest. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So you did 9.6. I did I will finish this slides 9.7. Hare Krishna. So before I start, I know I'm taking the class in the middle of the session, and you all devotees, I don't know if it's good or bad, you're listening to 3 different teachers. I'm nowhere close to what Anvaya Mataji and nowhere near close to Prem Kushwari Mataji. They are all amazing teachers. But of course, we all are different. I'm a little different the way in my approach. So before I start, I would appreciate if every one of you put their cameras on and say Hare Krishna loudly so that I see that you are all participating. You're on mute, Madan Mohan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna,
you are
Prabhuji.
listening.
Hare Krishna,
Is
Prabhuji.
very much there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Shiva
Hare
Srinivas
Krishna
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Dhiti Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I know that I have a very active audience. Thank you so much. So continuing with what Mataji mentioned, I'll be starting from Shloka 7. We are, discussing the topic of the, what you say, the Guhyatamam. Chapter 9 is, like Mataji mentioned, is Guhyatama, the most confidential. Last classes we heard there are 2 other, Guhyatara and Guhya. So in our Bhagavad Gita, we have chapter 2 to 6, which talks about knowledge of matter and spirit. And these are confidential discussions, Guhya. And then we have this chapter 7 to 8, the knowledge of bhakti, which is more confidential, Guhyatara. And then comes the chapter 9, the most confidential, Guhyatama. There's so many similarities in chapter 7 and chapter 9. The flow of thought, the concepts discussed in both chapters are similar, but chapter 9 describes them in a deeper manner. I just want you to understand this part, because many a times, when you are on your preaching service, when you are discussing this, then they will say, oh, the knowledge of absolute in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, it also talks about the similar concept. But this, in chapter 9, we will go deeper. Both in 7.12 to 9.1, first 2 shlokas of both the chapters, it talks about hearing about Krishna, Shravanam. 7.4 to 7.12, it talks about Krishna's energies. And 9.4 to 9.10, it also talks about the Krishna energies and his relationship with the material world. So as of now, we have discussed, or understood from Mataji, Krishna explaining his role in maintenance. Now in this shlokas that we are going to listen, he is going to explain his relationship with creation and destruction. These 2 parts. So anyone would like to read the shloka 9.7? Any volunteer?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Shall I read?
Please do.
Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpadau vifrajamyaham. Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Anyone would like to read the translation? It's on the screen. Any volunteer?
I think you can take the names. Diti Mataji, can you read?
Shiva Srinivas Prabhu?
Yeah.
Please.
So, at the end of the beginning, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again.
Very nice. Thank you. Let me do shloka number 8 as well. Then we discuss both about it. Diti Mataji, I don't know if you are there. Can you read the shloka, Diti Mataji? No. Manjula Mataji? Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
Yes, Prabhu. I
Can you read the
don't,
shloka?
but I can see the translation here on the screen.
Okay. Read the translation. No worries.
Okay. 9.7, O son of Kunti, at the end of the
9.8.
millennium.
9.8. We did the 9.7.
Yeah. The whole cosmic order is under me. By my will, it is manifested again and again. And by my will, it is annihilated at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
what
Prabhu.
is the focus of learning in our both these shlokas? Number one, it talks about the end of millennium. This is the, indicate the time of Brahma's death. The Brahma's one day in the purport of Srila Prabhupada is mentioned, it's calculated as 4.3 million of our earthly years. That is the, and he lives for 100 years. Each month is 30 days. And, you can imagine the time of Brahma. But it's all like when our Lord just exhales, and then when he inhales, the life of Brahma is gone. I'm just giving you to get the understanding of the relativity part here. And then in the end of millennium, the indicators of Brahma's death. At this time, all his energy is wound up in the Lord himself, and at manifestation, he expands himself in the material energy. Point number 2, he refutes the modern concept of evolution here. There is, in our childhood, I don't know if you read the same textbook which I did. We read this Charles theory of evolution, which is not refuted. And where Mataji was talking about the 4 defects, one of the 4 defects was cheating propensity, right? What are the 4 defects we just learned? If anyone can repeat. One was imperfect senses. Second was to be illusion. Third was to commit mistakes. And the fourth was cheating propensity. To say that to err is human, but the saying goes, much further there. Unfortunately, humans sometimes go beyond this innocent error and deliberately propagate untruths. Scientists are not immune to this shortcoming. For many years, textbooks on evolution, which I read and you read maybe, routinely cited that Piltdown man as evidence that human beings have descended from an ape-like ancestor. And you know what? In 1912, archaeologists evacuated a human-like skull and an ape-like jaw from a gravel pit in Piltdown in the British Isles. The bones were deemed part of the same creature, which was duly reconstructed in full and placed in a British museum as an example of a transitional phase between an ancient ape and a modern man. But in 1953, however, investigators discovered that the jawbone of the Piltdown man was actually of very ancient origin and had simply been stained to look like a fossil. In other words, the Piltdown man was a fraud, apparently engineered by one of the original discoverers. So the cheating propensity is not only with, us regular humans, it's with the scientists also. They were just trying to prove, their way of things. They were trying to control the narrative. And we see all the media wars this time, all are trying to control the narrative. So in this shloka, the modern concept of gradual evolution of species from one to another, from big migration, has been refuted. Our understanding of evolution is based on this purport that all species of life are created immediately along with the universe at the beginning of creation and not one after another. And you all know these are based on the desires and past deeds of the living entities. Third main point. If the Krishna is Parameshwara is aloof, then how does material world continue? And the answer here is the supreme will is always present. Everything is definitely under the supreme will of the Lord, because he enters as 3 Vishnu forms into the Mahata Tattva to create. Now, I can go further into this Mahata Tattva in case you are interested, but let's leave it for the next class sometime. And there's coming to the moving further, there is no direct involvement of the Lord. Like Anmaya Mataji was stating earlier, he does not himself create or destroy, but there's a material nature that acts by his desire. The term automatically manifested. Our sum in the text 9.8 points out to Krishna's detachment, which implies Krishna has no direct involvement but acts to material nature. And what is the basis of creation? Creation takes place to accommodate inclinations and desires of all the various living entities, our own. Moving on to the next shloka, 9.9, because I want to discuss more in the 9.10. Okay. Anyone can read the translation here? Whosoever has not participated, just to make sure everyone. Madan Mohan Krishna Lila Das Prabhu, can you please read the 9.9 purport translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, I'm little bit busy in I'm little Pujari service, Prabhu.
I
Okay,
think
yeah.
Sudarshan Rao Prabhuji can read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Uh,
9.9 translation, Prabhu.
9.9, 9.9, okay. O
Hanji.
Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached, seated as though a neutral.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. So here in this shloka, the main theme is that Lord is not directly responsible for all the good and evil done in this world. Lord says, number one, all this work cannot bind me. Number two, I am ever detached from all the material activities. The udasina vat, in this shloka, it implies that Lord as neutral. Lord is always neutral in the material activities in the created world. Material activities are carried out by his different potencies. Still, he has control over every minute detail. Like the example given earlier, the main king and his ministers doing the job. The analogy of the neutrality here is like the high court judge giving so many decisions, but he's neutral and he's unaffected with the gain and the loss. And the reference of neutrality here in the purport given by the Vedanta Sutra, Veshmaya Naigrahana Na. This reference replies Lord is transcendental to all material dualities. And based on the past deeds and desires, us living entities take on different forms. But Lord does not interfere. One interesting name mentioned here, the Atmaram. He is blissed. He's always engaged in blissful pastime in spiritual world. Atma Ramasya Tasyati Prakriti na Samagama. He's always involved in his eternal, blissful spiritual paths, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. Material activities are carried by his different potencies. This Atmaram verse, is in Srimad Bhagavatam also. Someone knows that part. It's in first canto itself. It's a very, very important verse. It's used in the introduction also in Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone who can make a guess here?
No, Prabhuji.
Atmarasya cha munya niragranta api nukrama. It's in 1.7.10. So just to give you a reference of Srimad Bhagavatam here on the word Atmaram. Okay, moving forward, why he is, Krishna is not bonded by anything else? Can anyone answer from where does bondage arises? How are we, बंधन कहाँ से आता है? हम कहाँ पे बनते हैं? What is the origin of bondage?
Sense gratification.
Yes.
Sense gratification and the actions which we perform without knowing the consequences.
Hari Bol. Okay, very nice. Very nice. Thank you for participating, Prabhu. Who was that? Shiva Srinivas Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
No.
Very nice contribution. Okay, so bondage actually arises from desire and attachment to action and its results. Because of all Krishna's desires are automatically fulfilled, he need not act. Therefore, there is no bondage for Krishna. Krishna, okay, let me further ask. Krishna is, what are the 6 opulences of Bhagwan? We did that in our first exam.
Yeah, all beauty, all fame, all knowledge, all power, all power, and all renunciation, and
all riches. Yeah.
All
Very
riches.
good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Renunciation, I always keep it at the last. He has everything. Even after that, he is, renounced. So there is no bondage for Krishna. And that's why he's, out of this. He's detached totally. Moving on to the next shloka. Now we did this. Yes. This is a very important shloka. And can someone recite the Sanskrit verse? If I can request someone who has not participated as of now, Kirti Mataji, in my class.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. 9.10. Mayadhyakshena prakritihi suyate sa characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Anyone would like to say the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, the material nature, which is one of my energy, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings under its rules. This manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
So this 9.10 emphasizes the Lord's supreme will, and thus proves that without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immaterial nature cannot do anything. It was 2 things again it emphasizes. Number 1, the Lord is neutral and aloof, and he simply sanctions the material energy. And point number 2, the management is done by the material nature on his behalf, and Lord is detached. When I was discussing this class, Anvaya Mataji told me a very nice example. She said, you go to a restaurant, you order food. Who prepares it? The cook prepares it. And the owner gives you the bill. So the cook here is the Prakriti, and the owner here is Krishna. Owner is aloof. He is just giving you the bill. And you deserve as per your deeds, as per what you have done. Lord is neutral here again. So it's such a very nice example that she mentioned. The focus, of the learning in this purport is Srila Prabhupada gives references on relationship between the Lord and the material nature. The analogy given here is Lord is the father, material nature is the mother. And Lord glances, but species are decided on how? Based on the past deeds and desire of living entity. The analogy is given here is of a fragrance of a flower touched by the smelling power of a person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached. A similar connection is there between the material world and the supreme personality of God. So this is the main theme here. Now, for this, this particular section is known as the Aishwarya Gyan of Bhagwan. And I would like to give a summary now of this Aishwarya Gyan. Krishna's Mataji mentioned about the conceivable and the inconceivable part here. So this his inconceivable potency in terms of creation, maintenance, and destruction is mentioned here. In all these, 10 shlokas. Number A, let's talk about Krishna's role in maintenance. Point 1, Lord pervades the entire universe by his energies. 2, he pervades in his unmanifested form, which can only be revealed by devotional service. 3, everything rests in him, but he does not lose his personal existence. 4, inconceivable mystic opulence, he is aloof from all the material creation and everything happens just by his will. And then Mataji gave the analogy of sky and the wind. The sky is the biggest manifestation that we can conceive. And in that sky, wind is the biggest to conceive. Wind is great, influences all the movements, but wind is never bound beyond the sky. It is always subordinate to the sky. And all wonderful cosmic manifestations, which are compared here to the movements of the wind, exist by the will of the Lord, and Lord is compared to the sky. Still, Lord is aloof and unaffected, just like sky is aloof and not affected by the movements of the wind. So these were the Krishna's role in maintenance. Now I will talk about the Krishna's role in creation and destruction. Point number 1. Under the influence of Lord's energy, the material world is automatically created and destroyed again and again. And the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into Krishna's nature. Mahavishnu, you can talk about the Purushavatars here. The Mahavishnu is the resting place of all material. It is Lord Krishna himself who controls this process as the Purushavatars. And at the beginning of the another millennium, Lord again creates by his potencies. What? Do we have time? Oh, no. Otherwise, I wanted to mention about the, Purushavatars here. The Supreme Lord Krishna, he has unlimited incarnation of avatars, and of one category is called the Purushavatars, who are involved in the creation of the material world. The first Purusha is called the Mahavishnu or Karanodakshai Vishnu, that lies in the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes. By his glance, like we discussed earlier, he injects the living entities into the material universe, just as a father impregnates a mother. Into each universe, the Lord again enters as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, the second Purusha. He still further manifests himself as Kshirodakshai Vishnu, the third Purusha, and enters into everything, even into the minute atom. Here the role of the superintendent is defined. Although all the living entities are born under the Lord's glance in the universe, they take birth in different forms and species according to their own past desires and activities. Time and again, we are emphasizing on this part. So the Lord is not directly attached to this creation. Being the superintendent, he is the efficient cause, nimitta, and the prakriti is the material cost, upadana. Being the doer and being neutral are not contradictory for the Lord, because he rules by proximity only. So, important point here to notice, so Krishna is the source of all three Purushas who create and maintain this material world. Still, when Krishna descends as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki in this world, some people misunderstand him as an ordinary human being, just as the Ansha of the Purushavatars. So now we have the clarity. He is the source of the three Purushas. He is not the Anshas. With this, I end this class. Hare Krishna. Any reflections, corrections, realizations, please share.
Excellent class, Prabhuji. Very well explained.
I'm learning from you and Maya Mataji.
No.